We want to turn now to Oracle. The company's fourth quarter results hitting the wire here, and it looks like beating estimates both on earnings per share and revenue. Earnings per share coming in at $1.70. That is 6 cents better than had been anticipated. Revenue in the fourth quarter, adjusted revenue, $15.9 billion. Analysts have been looking for about $15.6 billion, and you see the shares moving higher, even though they've already had a pretty good run here. And then the company is making some forecasts for its fiscal 2026. It says revenue growth will be dramatically higher. Total cloud growth for fiscal 26 will be 40% year over year, and its remaining performance obligation growth will be more than 100%. Cloud infrastructure growth for the full year will be over 70% year over year. So it is hitting the gas pedal, according to the company.
Yeah, I just see some comments here from the CEO of Safra Catz, sounding confident, saying 2025 was a very good year, but we believe 2026 will be even better, she says, as our revenue growth rates will be dramatic higher. She says Oracle is well on its way to being not only the world's largest cloud application company, but also one of the world's largest cloud infrastructure companies.
Yeah, and I mean, it's pretty dramatic to see these. It's really unusual to see these kinds of forecasts from a company, especially the size of Oracle. So, you know, when you say this was a very good year, but we believe 26 will be even better, revenue growth rates dramatically higher. I mean, that is very dramatic to say that billings are going to grow more than 100% next year. You know, of course, we have heard about a lot of new partnerships for the company that could have that this is potentially one of the things that's feeding through Stargate, the big project from OpenAI and SoftBank that the Trump administration has trumpeted here would be a $500 billion investment. So presumably that's some money maybe that would get deployed next year that would feed into this.
Yeah, I know analysts, thinking, Julie, they would expect to hear more about how do Larry Ellison and Safra Catz just think about the broader cloud environment generally, about OCI specifically, that's Oracle Cloud Infrastructure, which is its public cloud service that competes with those giants we talk so much about, like Amazon and Microsoft and Google. To your point, Stargate, I think, what does that mean for guidance long term? It'll be interesting to see what Ellison and Catz talk about that. And then how quickly that legacy database business moving to the cloud, that'll come up as well.
Yeah. Oracle shares are rising after reporting a beat on earnings in the fourth quarter. The company also expecting a triple-digit multi-cloud revenue growth rate to continue in fiscal year 2026. For more, we get to Citizens Head of Technology Equity Research, Patrick Walravens. Pat, great to see you. This forecast made me sit up and take notice. I don't know about you. Was this a rate that was expected here? This just feels like an awful lot of growth for an awfully big company.
Okay, first of all, it's absolutely remarkable, right? And as you said, Julie, for a $60 billion company to talk about numbers like this is amazing, and I'll touch on them quickly in a second. But I will say this: Safra Catz has been telling you this is coming, and it's been a long wait for people who own the stock because remember they missed the last two quarters, both on the top and the bottom line, despite the fact that they were booking an enormous amount of business. So last quarter, they had the top and bottom line miss, but they told you they'd had their strongest bookings quarter ever. And so what you're seeing happen now is all of that business that they've been booking is finally starting to turn into revenue. And so they mentioned that their cloud business, which grew 24% this last year in fiscal 25, would grow over 40 this coming year. The cloud infrastructure, which grew 50% in the last year, will grow over 70. And that their RPO, which in RPO stands for remaining performance obligation, I know it's kind of jargonish, but that's basically their bookings. It's their backlog. And so their backlog will double again in the next year. So Oracle's been working hard, putting a lot of pieces in place, and you're finally seeing it all come to fruition this quarter.
Pat, when you think about OCI, Oracle Cloud Infrastructure, which is competing there with Amazon and Microsoft and Google, all those hyperscalers we talk so much about, Pat, what are OCI's competitive advantages in that fight, Pat? What do they bring to the table?
It's a great question, and it's funny because Larry Ellison has been running the same playbook. I mean, he started this company in the late 70s. I've been covering it, believe it or not, since 2002, right? But he runs the same playbook over and over again. And that playbook is make products that perform better at a lower cost. And the way he words it is kind of funny. He words it as, we have to give you more for less constantly. And so the Gen 2 infrastructure, which is what OCI is built on, is super high performance and is able to provide higher performance for less cost. And particularly for big companies who are training models who have a lot of inference, that's pretty attractive.
I want to get you to explain a little bit more on that through the lens of something you wrote about in your preview note for these Oracle numbers. You talked to a lot of folks, do a lot of channel checks, and you said OCI, you heard from an industry source, is, quote, not busy trying to build GPUs, is setting up some very impressive clusters, and delivering on what these high maintenance customers require. What does that mean?
Yeah, what is the point of all that? The point of all that is, the three big hyperscalers obviously are Amazon, Google, and Microsoft. And Oracle is, up and coming, but it's number 4. And all of those hyperscalers, as they provide training and inference for AI, are using an enormous amount of Nvidia chips. And they're all designing their own chips in order to reduce that dependence on Nvidia. Oracle is not taking that approach. Oracle instead is just focusing on building the best data centers that they can to provide the best performance at the best price, and they're not trying to build their own chips. So they're very focused on just solving their customer's partner, and also, that endears them to Nvidia, of course. So their partnership with Nvidia is really tight.
Pat, I believe Oracle is both investor and I think also technology partner for that Stargate project. How should investors think about what that could mean for Larry Ellison's company looking forward financially and strategically?
Well, so Stargate, just as a reminder, is a massive AI infrastructure initiative where you have SoftBank, OpenAI, Oracle, and then you have Microsoft and Nvidia as the technology partners. And initially, they were talking about $100 billion investment, and then over time that was potentially going to go to as high as $500 billion. So the real benefit that Oracle is going to reap there is way more bookings for providing that AI infrastructure services as these data centers are getting built. The first one, which is a massive footprint in Texas. And I think when they gave you that guidance talking about how RPO can double again, my guess is we'll hear on the call that Stargate is part of that.
You mentioned the call, Pat. Let's say you have the opportunity to ask Mr. Ellison or Ms. Safra-Katz a question or two. What would be top of mind for you?
So this may not be the number one thing that investors care about, but I'm a dad. I have 4 kids, and I would love to hear Larry's point of view on what's going to happen to jobs for our children in our society as more and more of these AI algorithms and applications are able to do more and more of the jobs that humans did historically. And that's something that the Anthropic CEO has been talking about lately too. I think that's basically the biggest question facing our society today.
And I would love to actually hear Mr. Ellison's take on that. Pat, as always, sir, great to have you on the show. Thank you.
All right. Thank you for having me.